Oh my god, okay. Everybody's guilty pleasure show is back. And the pleasure is guilty as sin, which is why it's incredibly embarrassing to admit that we're watching, but we are watching and dissecting Perfect Match Season 2, all of the episodes that have been presented as of now. If I were smart, I would have put out the episodes as they came out. I simply just didn't know if I wanted to dissect this because it's like the show is just so trashy. But I already was going to be watching it and listening to the commentary, so I'm like, I might as well just give my 2 cents because it's a very interesting show. As much as it's, like a guilty pleasure, it's like embarrassing. You feel like a little bit ashamed. It is still very interesting to make notes on and to talk about because there's so many prevalent themes in this that just need to be dissected. So we're just gonna go through all of the episodes that are out as of now. It's Friday. So episodes 1 through, is it 10 are available? I hate that I'm not just doing like 1 through 6 and then 6 through 7 through 10, but this is just what we've been dealt. So this is what we're gonna go through. Okay. May I don't know if I'm gonna be able to time mark it with the episodes, but I'm just gonna go with what I wrote down at the time that I wrote it down. Hopefully this video is not gonna be like an hour, but we'll see. Anyway, okay. So let's talk about the standout moments and the standout people of the show because the show has provided what Nick Lachey says as and I wrote this down to make sure I would not forget, and I disgustingly cringed at it. He said Nick so he says this show has 10 of the sexiest singles across the world and the Netflix universe. Let's just keep it at Netflix's universe. The world, I think these people are attractive, but they're not the sexiest. They're not the sexiest people in the world. Let's just keep it to Netflix universe. Not saying they're ugly or anything, but it's just like, let's not, the importance is not that high. Anyway, okay. So I'm just gonna go through a cast of the people that just stood out to me. And this might be kind of in a little bit of chronological order. So first, I wrote down my notes about Tolu because as a fellow African woman, I have no choice other than to stan. I have no choice. She's from The Trust. I've never watched The Trust. I haven't watched so many of these shows. I pretty much only watch Love is Blind and The Ultimatum. That's pretty much. And then I watched season 1 of Too Hot to Handle, and then after that I was like, I can't keep doing this. I'm not that I'm too old for it. I'm only 24. But like it just at a certain point you're like, this is just, I know I'm just sitting here rotting my brain. Why do I can't. Anyway, so totally from The Trust, interesting, beautiful woman. My god, more on her later. Brighton and Steven, gosh, oh my god. Steven ends up being okay, as we're gonna reveal later. Like Steven to me is kind of like the guy who comes off as a red flag and probably has like some red flaggy moments, but overall, like not a horrible person who you're assuming would be like a Harry type. And then we have Brighton. What his name is like Brighton Carrington or Kerrigan, something ridiculous that just makes you physically ill when you say it together. Like people like Brighton honestly make me really think about God's existence and if it's real, because it's like, of all the people, him, and not only to be like a him, but to be like your outsides don't match like the ugliness and the manipulative nature of your insides. I hate that. That he just should not look. I don't think that he's physically that attractive, but I recognize that he is probably universally seen as attractive. And I just think that it's disgusting that such a package is brought with such a personality. Gosh. Speaking of, Harry Jowsey's here. Harry already made a name for himself in multiple different spheres outside of Netflix. Jowsey. It's like, I feel like all of us saw Harry Jowsey and we were excited because it's like, oh my god, this is such a get for them. Even though he comes from Netflix, he's like a little bit above this because he's been doing a bunch of things. He was on Dancing with the Stars. What other things was he on? I don't know. He has like a podcast under the Unwell Network that's Alex Cooper's network. He just like, I understand why he went on the show. It's like to extend his longevity of relevancy. and to keep people talking about him. And he probably is smart in some way about being on social media, because he really has made his presence last for a long time. But it's like embarrassing for him. It's embarrassing for him to be back here, but we're excited to see it because it's like entertaining. So then we got Dominique. Beautiful girl. Oh my God. Beautiful, intelligent, studied engineering. Are we kidding? I feel bad because she admitted that she's drawn to toxicity. And it sucks because I feel like once you get into a toxic relationship, it's like hard to get out of that and to look for health, because health almost feels boring. And we saw that when she hooked up with what's his name? Was it Chris? Yeah, no, it was Chris. I only remember Chris from being with Tolu. I'm gonna be giving so many spoilers, although I'm gonna try to walk through episodes by episode. But just know I'm gonna be talking about this as all the things that come to me. I'm gonna be talking about this in the way that like is true to me, and sometimes that's revealing things that are from the future, and sometimes that's truly just going off of my notes that I wrote in the moment. Um, okay, so Elise, I don't know. Like, I don't really know much about Elise. In the beginning, I was kind of like, I guess I like you, but nothing about her stands out to me. You know, nothing against her, nothing for her. Micah, somebody got some surgery, and it's not bad at all. Not to be like, I hope she feels good in her skin. I really hope. Seriously, I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine being in her position, being critiqued and called out so many times by people on her looks. I feel like she looks good. She looks good. She looked good before. She looks good now. But I will say that I feel like Micah is definitely somebody who's a wolf in sheep's clothing, 1000%. Because people like, okay, she has friends who are mean. Based off the last season that we saw her in, she has moments of being mean. I feel like the face that she has just doesn't really match with like her evil nature, because she looks so innocent. And even seeing her family, like her family all look like innocent, adorable people. But I feel like I see Micah in the way that like she likes to entertain messy people. She likes to be around people who are a little bit meaner. I don't really like her that much as a person, and I feel like we are seeing these themes as the series goes on. Okay, we got Xanthi, just a beautiful girl. Honestly, she kind of, I want to like her because she's beautiful. And that's just how I feel about all these. You want to like them instinctually because they're beautiful people, but the way that Xanthi talks is like, I don't know. There's just something about her and her little trademarks of like how she ends things, and she's like, "We keep it truthful over here." It's like I had just a beautiful girl. I don't know. Kaz, just a beautiful man. My God, it's really hard as a dark skinned woman to recognize other dark skinned black men who just like do not entertain other black people. It's like hard. It's like hard for me to be like such a beautiful man to be like he would never go for somebody's chocolate is he. But no, seriously, what the hell? Izzy, I am shook that they put him on this main cast to like let him be the main people. It's so embarrassing. Every single second that goes by, I feel so embarrassed for him. The fact that he just anyway. So we get right into the show. They do kind of like a vibe check of two truths and one lie. The biggest takeaway was just that Steven likes feet. I despised the fact that they showed that. Him licking toe. I just could never relate. And I do feel like it was important for the feet fetish community to have some representation and normalization. Okay. I feel like it's very normalized for people to have foot fetishes. And like, I'm happy that y'all are literally able to be in public and be proud of that. But at the same time, some of us just, I don't know. And then I also think about like, what the heck creates somebody with a foot fetish? Do you guys have like beautiful feet and you're like, I like my feet? I could, because I feel like as somebody who has ugly feet, I'm like, I couldn't relate. I'm not shaming you. I'm just kind of like, my insecurity. I just could never imagine it being a obsession. Anyway, okay, so I mean, the truth is one lie. Everybody's sitting talking. The girls are sitting around talking about Harry. Because how could you not sit around talking about Harry Jowsey? He's Harry Jowsey. This is weird that he's on here. He's also very like problematic in his history. So the girls are like, he literally just got out of a relationship. Isn't it crazy? But I really want to hit. But also, it's like wild. Then um we have Dom and Brighton. They have like a thing. Dom is very, why do I keep saying Dom? Dominique. It's because you could say Dom, but like there's already a Dom later who we know won season one. But sometimes if I slip up and say Dom and Brighton, no, I'm talking about Dominique. So Dominique and Brighton have a thing that gets toxic, and I feel bad for Dominique, God, because I just know that she is falling for this because she's falling into toxic cycles. And it's sad because when you fall for a toxic guy or a guy that you just know is just garbage, it makes you look less intelligent than you are. It makes you look like you're making unwise decisions. But it's like it's the I personally blame Brighton because I feel like he's just, it's annoying that he's attractive because then he attracts people that could be like Dom who need to not have their their dull shined, their sparkle dulled. So Izzy and Tolu match. By the way, some of these notes might be a little bit sporadic and kind of weird, but these are simply just all of my thoughts kind of all at once. Everything that stood out to me is what I put down. If it stood out to you, hopefully that's good, but I don't know. Izzy and Tolu match, but they're not like a real match. So like, why are we acting like they are? Seriously? Like, it's like, oh, like even in the couple of days that they spend after they match, it's like we're growing our connection. No, you're not. I'm sorry. I believe that Tolu is a beautiful, desirable human being, and I'm happy that she gets into this thing with Chris later. But it was like, Izzy, no, you're not. Like, you would. I don't know. So we have the first challenge of the season, which makes the show. This is like what makes this show like really hard to admit that you're watching, because every single challenge is just people in the Netflix HQ getting together, being like, "How can we make this look as sexual as possible without it dipping our toes into adult entertainment?" Like, it's like, and I'm sure that everybody on the show knows that too, because they're literally just like humping each other, and it's anyway. So whatever, Harry and what's her name, Elise, win that challenge, and then they send Dom and Tolu on a date. So which is like, I hate that, not Netflix, it's the individuals, but it's also maybe a little bit Netflix, I don't know. I hate that this season is also another season of them just randomly, the people who are in the boardroom, randomly just picking any two black people and being like, they look good together. This is perfect. And Harry saying like, oh, I know, Dom. I know this is like the type of girl that would be great for him. No, you don't. You really don't, because the Netflix universe, the audience knows Dom would not like Tolu. So how could you as a friend be like, oh, I know? You don't know. I'm assuming that it's implicit bias. Is it implicit or explicit at that point? Because it's like you literally just pair two black people together because you're like, hey, we gotta get together. Like, everybody knows Dom do not be liking these black chocolatey queens. Everybody knows that. Don't be stupid. It's like just uncomfortable. Um, like Dom also should have just turned the show down. Not saying he's on Harry's level, but just to say, if you won a show and you left kind of on a high note, don't come back, because it gives sad, does it not? It gives, what are we still doing here? It gives it gives graduated high school alumni coming back and being and like talking to all the teachers, but not even coming back like years later. It's like coming back like a year after you graduate. It's like, get out of here. Anyway, okay, so Chris and Dominic go on a date, and it's giving awkward. You want to root? I wanted to root for them because I found them both attractive, and is kind of Chris is really cute to me, and I also think that he is like this adorable kind of personality. And Dominique, I just want to see in a healthy relationship. So I was wanting them to hit it off, but it's like you can't just force these things. Just because two people are beautiful doesn't mean it's going to work. So sorry, I'm looking over here so much. I have my notes. I'm gonna try to put it closer to the camera. Micah and so okay, sorry. I'm getting way ahead of myself. Brighton and Chris. Oh shoot. Okay, so sorry. I'm skipping so far ahead. Is he God. Dominique and Chris go on a date, awkward, weird. Izzy shoots a shot with Micah. We're all so uncomfortable. Wow, it's so uncomfortable watching Izzy because I don't think he really read as that uncomfortable to watch on Netflix on Love Is Blind. But this is just like, oh god, oh, him and Jake are people who I'm like, oh my god, oh my god, get out of here, you can. Okay, so why would Dom match with Tolu that night? Like, I understand she brought him into the house, but it's also giving, I'll do anything just to be here. You know, he really just does these actions where it's like, that does not make sense for you. You know, you don't like her. You know, you don't like her. Or maybe he did. Maybe I should give him the benefit of the doubt. You know, you don't like her. Brighton and Chris try to out alpha each other in order to win over Dominique. And it just is weird. And then Dominique rightfully just is kind of like, I don't like this. I want to be with a woman because they make me feel more secure. Rightfully. Luckily she chooses Chris because Brighton is a weirdo who always has to put his little alpha energy into the world and is, I feel like, the definition of somebody who inhabits toxic masculinity habits, you know? And I didn't watch Squid Game The Challenge, and I'm really happy that I didn't because I know that he was also getting clowned on there because I saw him in a bunch of memes. Ugh. Okay, we got the kissing challenge. It's so weird. I didn't even find it sexy just because I think these people are just like a little bit disgusting to me. Not disgusting. Some of these people I can root for, but some of these people are just like, it's not even sexy for me to watch you guys because it just gives weird. I don't know. Am I being too judgmental? Anyway, um, the kissing challenge was really odd. I really wish I had things more to say about it, but I simply do not. It was just awkward, and I didn't take much from it. So we're just gonna keep going on my notes because I have a lot. Micah and Kaz, of course, then I guess win the challenge, and they match up Steven. Have I said? Have I been saying Steven this whole? Okay, Steven and Alara, and then Jessica and Harry. And I'm not gonna lie, they're kind of doing the Lord's work there because they know they're gonna spice it up. Like, Harry is kind of the, I feel like, the it guy of the Netflix reality TV multiverse. And then Jessica is on her way to becoming kind of the it girl. It used to be Francesca Farrago, which we know from Perfect Match season 1. And then she kind of, I feel like, is just known as a Netflix villain. She still could be the it girl, but it's also kind of like, I just feel like Jessica just holds herself to such a great standard. I feel like she's never going to put herself in a position where she looks villainous. I feel like, I don't know, they're just two people that you like, I've been waiting to see y'all in the same room. And then also I think that we also got spoiled. At least I remember seeing an Instagram post. I don't know how the heck this got recommended to me. It's either Instagram or Reddit or something where Harry and Jessica were spotted out before the season aired. They were like spotted on a beach or something, being like, that's really weird. Like, this is for sure for publicity. And how did they even like, and now we're seeing the beginnings, you know? Okay. So Alara is really fun. Like, I love a really fun, loud, quirky Brit. I love them on the show because they add so much funny commentary. And they have moments where they can be very raw, you know? God, I hated that so much. But and then we have Harry and Jessica. So Harry, this whole entire time, is just putting on this whole entire show of, I'm dating to marry now. It is a ploy because the way that he is speaking about women, the way that he's speaking about his last couple of years in the Netflix universe, his fame, is so immature that you just cannot imagine him being in a marriage, right? Like, he's saying, I'm dating to marry. I'm pretty sure just to save his little reputation of being a little, you know what I mean? um the whole I'm dating to marry thing, I think people just like to hear that and they're like, oh well, you can't really blame him for doing blah 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 because he's dating to marry. He's lying. I think he's lying. Maybe he could actually, but because he did get engaged to Francesca the first season of Too Hot to Handle, so maybe he like is convincing himself, but he just keeps self-sabotaging. Okay, I maybe believe him in some ways that he wants a wife, but in very unrealistic ways. You know what I mean? I very much expect him to get maybe potentially engaged or even married, and then for that marriage to maybe last a couple months. I see that happening. And let me know if you disagree. I doubt anybody disagrees, but let me know. That'd be really interesting. So Harry comes back and just completely forgets Elise, and we're like, that was rude. I think that's kind of rude that he just kind of just be floating around in this world without acknowledging her. Doesn't even have a conversation with her. And we're like, okay, because typically they have conversations whenever they come back, just to be kind or courteous. Chris asks Dominique about her sexuality. I hated that conversation. Um, because the subtext, what is like completely not said, is just that Chris wants to use her sexuality for his own advantage and not like to work together. It's like he wants, I think, to have some, and it's really weird because it's like he said something like just want to know how you feel about your sexuality because we have some options. It's like, we don't have options. I have a sexuality. That's for me and that's my business. Like, why are you ugh. And I feel like that's one of those moments where Dominique is gonna look back on and be like, I wish I could have read him to filth, but I was just so incredibly uncomfortable that I couldn't even get the words out because the audacity was just choking me up in my throat. So many moments like that I feel like people have. And I think he tried to save himself and be like, I hope you're not offended. It's like, why would I be offended? Can you please tell me? Can you tell me exactly why you think that would be an offensive question? Because I would love to hear your answer on that. Like, tell me exactly what would prompt that. What about that is an inappropriate question? You tell me so we can learn together. You know. Jessica tells the girls that Harry said that Elise was more of a friend vibe. And it's like, ooh, Harry's in trouble because he did not tell Elise that. What the heck? So then that leads Elise to pulling Harry aside and having a conversation about that. And she's like, I wish you would have just told me. I would like, what the heck? I feel like a fool. And he's like, calm down, calm down. Like, when you know, you know. If you love somebody, let her go. If you if you love something, let it go. It's like, we were having a conversation about the fact that you said that, and you're all of a sudden now just like dismissing the crap out of me. Sometimes I say things that I'm like, you're in fifth grade. You're just dismissing me like this is nothing, but it is something. What? Harry is so immature. I feel so incredibly bad for Jessica because she's so mature. She does not deserve somebody like Harry Jowsey. If you don't know Harry Jowsey, like, he's been in so many relationships. The way he even talks about his history, it just is like he's not gonna be a father figure to anybody. Like, it just the thought of him meeting Jessica's daughter, Autumn, sad. It just like it like he Jessica is more like his mentor or like mother figure. It's not somebody you want to be in a partnership with. Ew. So that situation, of course, made Elise really upset, and then she just after that moment essentially just acts out of spite for everything that he does. And it's like, I understand that. Oh my god, as a sensitive person, I get why she moves that way, but it's also like, pick yourself up. Pick yourself up. I get it. It's Harry Jowsey. He's beautiful. He's whatever. But the man does not care that you are angry at him. Don't spend your energy on him. And then he's also just being like really rude about the way that he's going about things. Just like, ignore him. Don't spend your energy on him because you will bleed yourself dry of energy. Okay, so then we got Alara and Steven, and they match. And I wrote down, Steven is not as bad as he comes across in my notes. Because I just didn't really like him at first. Comparing yourself to like Pete Davidson and MGK, I don't know. I just don't like that. So then we get the compatibility challenge to find out that Harry, and the only thing that we really find out are the things that I wrote down. Harry made 100K in a night on OnlyFans, or in a day. That's like wild. 100K in a day. Just got engaged for money, which I don't think that us in the Love Is Blind sphere knew that. I feel like we only knew about her past as it relates to her with her child, but did we really know about her getting engaged for married? I don't know. Tolu's ex was married. Ooh, that was hard. It was really so sad because everybody's like, you're such a little like and then she's like, yeah, my ex was married for the 2 years. Vibe change. It was crazy. And then we found out that Steven hooked up with a pop star. I want to know who that is. I feel like I don't know. It's just like weird also because I feel like stars, they're just like us. They do be having relations just like us too. They be falling for people who are like weird. Also, the whole like who owned a cage to put women in? Why was that just like a ha like the fact that he was like, oh, women just like wandered into a cage I got for my dog. No. Women just be wandering into cages like that. Like women, I just dumb women. They just be wandering into cages like that. Did anybody like? Can somebody please validate me and say that was weird as hell to like listen to? It wasn't even like a weird and like a you're crazy, but they almost wanted to play it off like that. The way that Nick Lachey read it off and he's like, "Who owned a cage to put women in?" It's like this is 2024. What are we? Yeah, at that time it was 2023, but still it's the same idea of like that's a crazy sentence to say out loud. That's crazy. That's crazy. It does not fit the vibe of all the other things that were said. Dom and Tolu are in the match room. Things come to a head, and good riddance because Tolu's frustrated with the vibe change. But it like changed in such an because it changed in such an abrupt way that you're like, listen, I understand that Dom was never going to be down for Tolu, but the way that he went about it was weird because he didn't like communicate, like, I'm not really interested. He kind of just like slowly drifted off, which us as the audience, we get it, but it's like, and thank God that Chris came in and kind of like snuck her away and had a thing for her, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Tolu then puts herself to go on a date with Jake. What an uncomfortable pairing. God. Jake also was somebody that I don't know, you just look at it and you're like, yeah, you say you don't have trouble getting women, but do you? You're like one of the few people on the show that like uses that line that you're like, I feel like that's, I don't know, that's not real. um, Elise goes on a date with Justin. Justin is so cute. I love the fact that he admitted that he has an anxious undertone. As somebody who has an anxious undertone, I see you. Like he just feels like one of the more real quirky guys of the show as opposed to all these other guys are like alpha guys that like have muscles and like potentially get Botox and like, you know, peaked in high school. This guy feels a little bit more real, but he also feels like he's a little bit, whenever he's trying to play it cool, putting on a little bit of an act. That's also the thing with these guys in these shows. It's like, yeah, even the best one that has an anxious undertone, is he just putting that on to be more relatable and kooky and quirky? Um, so Elise and Justin don't vibe just because I think that Elise is just hung up on Harry. Because it's Harry. She's probably like, damn, I was this close. So much has happened, but just getting to the end of the episode, which is episode 5 at this point, Dom shoots his shot with Elise just to stay on. Like, Dom is so transparent in the way that he moves. It's so ridiculous. It's so disgusting. Can you blame him? I don't know. Chris and Tolu match. I love it. I loved that because the even the way that he called it out, and he was like, then they were playing Truth or Dare, and Tolu goes like, "Okay, I dare you to give a lap dance to whoever you're the most interested." And he's like, "Come over here." Ah, that was insane. Oh my god! Like, I just felt so happy for her. If you have never watched my YouTube videos before, but you no, if you've seen my YouTube videos before and you know what my husband looks like, they look like a more attractive version of me and my husband. Tolu and Chris, which is crazy because my husband's name is Chris and he has long brown hair. And then I obviously not named Tolu, but I'm an African woman and my husband is an American with long brown hair. They just look like an elevated version of that's crazy. Anyway, Harry, in my opinion, puts on a show for Jessica. Whenever he gets called out for all of these things, like everybody's saying like, yeah, Harry's ingenuine, he like just got out of a relationship, he like just broke it up with Elise and like didn't really tell her like why before he like walked into here, you know, like a lot of this conversation is like causing doubt in Jessica, which is like rightful. It's rightful. So then Harry, of course, like everything comes to a head and they have these conversations and he ends up crying because, and I, okay, there's a lot of speculation as to is that real or is that fake. In my opinion, as somebody who watched some content with Harry Jowsey after he got off his shows, Harry has mentioned before the fact that he is doing everything he can in order to like lengthen his fame and lengthen his career, and he even uses the term of like clout farming. So he's going to do everything he can in order to like gain as much clout and do as much as he can in order to sustain. And I feel like through the relationships that we've seen him in, which is like the Francesca thing that ended, they seemed both just to be like messy people. Nobody was really completely at fault. It just seems like they were just immature people that like got really famous and like just whatever. Um, and then him with everybody else in Netflix universe, he just seems to be like a little F boy around LA. And then him with his relationship with Francesca. What's her name? Georgia. That seemed to be like something that he was manipulative in because I listened to a podcast episode of him talking about their relationship, and then I listened to a podcast episode of her talking about that relationship. Everything about Harry to me just feels like a game. It doesn't feel genuine. It doesn't feel sincere. Just like look at the way they talks in ITMs. Like, um, I don't know. Like the fact that Jessica was even apologizing, being like, "I'm so sorry," and she, as a human being and as a mother, feels intensely and empathetically for him, rightfully. But I feel like he took advantage of that and was like, I don't judge you for anything, but you're judging me for my yeah, because she doesn't have anything to bring up. Like, you're out here saying that you hooked up with half of Netflix universe, all of Netflix universe, and it's like, why? And then it's like you ended things horribly with this girl, and it's like, why? And then you keep doing all of these things that make me feel insecure. So it's like, why? And he's like, I don't believe you. Chris and Melinda go on a date, which is crazy. It's like, ooh, past crush things, exciting. I also love just the dynamic switch of somebody having a crush on a black woman when black women in the show are typically like the ones that are looking like scroungers, you know? It's like if I could just find somebody to be interested in me, oh my god. But like somebody as attractive as Chris really wanting somebody like Melinda, beautiful woman. Ah, was like very exciting to me. Holly and Kaz go on a date. All these people are so attractive, but there's something about Holly and Kaz that just gives like this is purely sexual tension. I don't believe, like, I don't think you would sit down ever and have a conversation with them and it would lead to any substance. I'm sorry, but when you have that attractive of people together, I don't think any like nothing not intelligent. That's so mean. You just don't expect much from that conversation. I'm just gonna be honest. Micah and Tolu feel threatened because, of course, their men are out on dates and then they come back. And Chris opens up about his crush on Melinda and then kind of sorts out the pros and cons between Melinda versus Tolu. For sure, I thought that he was going to go with Melinda because like he had this crush on her. It's like been a thing. And then he chooses Tolu and you're like, wow, that's wild. That's wild. Okay, Chris opens up about his crush. Sorry, I just said that. Micah accuses Kaz of being a liar. That was wild. And Kaz did kind of manipulate his words to both women about the fact that um, Kaz was like, "You're one of my types," and she's a type. You're one of my types. I love the way the Kaz speaks. Oh gosh, but I kind of feel like Micah kind of just be like drumming up this like these are like the early days of her kind of drumming up this toxicity between them. Ooh, and it ends off being like, Kaz is a liar, and we're gonna see like, oh, who's he gonna choose? And that ends off episode 6, and then we go into episode 7-11. am I gonna? No, yeah, no. I was like, am I gonna pause this video and just make a new one? No. Let's get through this. So we see that Kaz matches with Micah. Micah, I love the way he says Micah. I can't do it. For some reason, ever since I studied the Australian accent by watching multiple Australian reality TV shows, I can't do anything other than the Aussie accent. I try so hard to do the British one, but you just, guys, you can't have me. It's so upsetting. Does anybody else have that issue, like where you like learn one accent and it's like I can't do anything else, or like one language and that was me with English because it's I literally should be able to speak another language. Right? Yeah. Okay, Kaz matches with Micah, and it was wild because I feel like guys typically fall for the girl who's more physically attractive. Like they don't think about personality or compatibility. Even though people are saying that him and Micah aren't really compatible, it's like, well, there is something that's like pulling him back every time. But I honestly think that also Kaz might have just chose Micah because maybe if he chose Holly, other people are going to want to take her on a date, and then it would kind of leave him unsafe. So I think that Micah is also a little bit of the safe option, right? Right? Chris and Tolu. I like it the more the time goes on, just because they are a more attractive version of me and my husband. Kaz and Micah. Kaz and Micah. See, I tried to do the English thing. Kaz and Micah go on a date and talk about potential outside of the house. Let's be serious. There is no potential outside of the house for more than a couple months. Harry sets up a middle school presentation of words of affirmation to display for Jessica. It was like a good sentiment, but it was just weird delivery. Being like, I'm gonna place it. I'm gonna place these little things around a wooden flower for you. I'm sorry. Harry will never win in this season. I'm pretty sure a lot of people are not liking him, myself included. Let me try to say one good thing about Harry. One good thing about Harry is just the fact that he gives so much entertainment. It's so fun to watch him. He is also a little funny in the way that he says the things that you wouldn't dare to let out of your mouth. You wouldn't. So I do appreciate that about him. I like when Micah's in the boardroom because she shakes things up. She shakes things up. She's the one who got Harry and Jessica together, which is like, thank you for doing that for us. So then we see they're gonna test Steven and Alara. So Steven goes on a date with Britton. Britton is cute, but I feel like she's more of a friend vibe with Steven. And then Alara and Nigel. I don't know. Steven and Alara like seem to work better together with than anybody else. So when they get back into the house, Steven's like, "We kiss." Just kidding, and then everything goes back to normal, which is like, duh. When Kaz is talking, when Kaz is talking to Britain, he sits down and it's like, "Where are you from?" And she's like, "Hawaii," and he's like, "What's that?" I'm sorry, it's just so crazy to imagine that you've never heard of Hawaii, but at the same time, I'm not from the UK. I don't know what you guys know about geography. I also grew up for a couple years of my life living in Uganda until I was 4, and then Rwanda until I was 12, but on and off moving between the states. So I recognize the like it's hard to be knowledgeable on areas that are not your own. So a little bit of me wants to be like, well, I've never heard of Hawaii. It's funny. But it's like, when you don't need to know places, like, how would you know them unless they're just brought up consistently in your education? But they had like European education. I don't know what that consists of. I don't. You're not doing a states test, right? A lot of Americans don't really know much about Hawaii. I don't know. Like, a little bit of me wants to be like, he doesn't know because he's just a hot person, and hot people don't need to know anything for real. But then a lot of me is like, I feel. I feel for that. Okay. Everyone tries to sabotage Micah and Kaz, and I feel sorry for them because it's like, this is not fair. They're not being fair, and it's hard to watch a little bit. Harry and Jessica. Harry says he's falling in love. I don't believe that. I mean, I believe that Harry feels intense emotions. Has it been like, how long has it been though? Like, really? I don't know. I just feel like it's lust. I feel like it's lust. They go out. They are gonna have like a we thought it was gonna be like a boys' day. It's like, why would that be a boys' day? You know, like why the heck? So then the boys and girls get tested, and we're like, oh shit, I'll be back. I'll be back. I didn't think that anything was really gonna happen. Brighton is like really trying to sneak his way into any little thing that he can. It's so disgusting. He's so disgusting. I don't understand why anybody would be interested in somebody like Brighton. Truly, if you're a Brighton girl or guy, let me know. Christine is such a cutie. Like, she's the only temptress my god. She's the only temptress I can stand behind, even though I don't like her actions and the way that she's trying to very overtly um aggressively kind of flirt with Cass and be like, you know, and you want to kiss me. Cause it's like that's not sustainable for like anything. I understand that they're just trying to do their job as it relates to this Netflix universe TV show world, but at the same time, it's kind of like that's. But there's just something likable about Christine. I don't know what it is. I just like her. I don't know. I'm kind of rooting for her, even though she's problematic tendencies. Izzy talks with Micah, oh, and he's like, you don't look like yourself. And it's like, Izzy, yeah, we know you know everything about her. And the fact that he even called it out and was like, yeah, I'm so weird and awkward. I just like revealed my cards and revealed that I know everything about you. The way that he does the way that he does it with it's like, I'm so sorry I did that the other day. I just kind of told you I know everything about you. I'm uncomfortable as wow. It's like, dude, just stop talking. So then we see Harry and Melinda. Harry kissed Melinda. The reason that I believe this is because whenever that happened, Harry's kind of like scrambling and is like immediately denying, being like, "What? Kiss? What? You're like, what are you talking?" When, okay, basically summed up into a couple words, doth protest too much. You are trying to make it seem like something that it wasn't. He might have maybe not kissed her, okay? I will give Harry the benefit of the doubt. Maybe Melinda was trying to get more attention. Maybe she does because she has that energy of like wanting to be in the screen. Maybe she attempted to kiss him or whatever, and maybe Harry's telling the truth. Far stretch, but maybe. Um, but like I do believe that they kissed, and I believe that he fell into a little temptation, and he's hiding that. And he's really just gonna be like, "You lied, you're lying," which is such a common theme whenever a girl has experience with a guy, and the guy doesn't want to sit with the truth, so they're just like, "You're lying, nobody saw it." That's also another thing is he's like immediately being like, "Did anybody see it?" Just because nobody saw it doesn't mean it doesn't. What? That's probably why he did it down there because nobody could see it. I don't. Everyone goes back into the house. Harry's upstairs sulking about his decision, and Jess is like, "Where's Harry?" And then everyone's like, "Upstairs sulking. You already know the business." And then she's like, "What the heck is going on?" And then Harry tried to play the pity card, and Jessica is not having it. Period. Jessica, she's just like, you know, no one feels bad for you. Like, who's gonna feel bad for you? I'm not feeling bad for you. I have too many things to do. Oh my god. Harry leaves, so Harry kind of admits like, oh, I was carrying Melinda. You were carrying Melinda like multiple times. It wasn't just this one time you were carrying her to the bathroom, please. And he just leaves out the fact that they kissed, or like even the false accusation of they kissed. It's like, if that was not real, why didn't you just admit to even like the false thing that she's claimed, and like have a real talk about like, oh, like she said that she kissed me and she didn't. That to me is like, if it were fake, you would tell her that. Jessica knows what she's doing because she got that mom instinct, and she knows how to Harry child. She knows how to handle Harry like a child. I kind of love that they're talking about Autumn because it's like real life bleeding into the show, and I just feel like, please do it. I'm almost done with this. Hold on. We're almost done with the video. It's just so uncomfortable when Jessica's like, listen, no, we're all gonna sit here and talk about the truth. And then Melinda spills, and Jessica kind of gets upset, which is like understandable for Jessica. It's like such an uncomfortable uncomfortable position to be in, but at the same time, you did kind of ask for that all to be kind of laid out. You said, well, everybody's here, so. And I understand Melinda could have pulled her to the side. That's kind of on Melinda to be like, listen, he really put the moves on me. Like, she should have done that. But everything was kind of just called out in that moment. I don't know. Everybody loses in this situation. And Harry, to me, is just completely at fault because it's like, what's the truth here? I don't know. I went to Melinda's Instagram actually to see what she said about this because I knew she was going to be clapping back a little bit. And the only thing that I saw, which was like as of like an hour or so ago, she said, I can't wait for the truth to come out. So are we saying that Harry's finally just going to admit to it or what? Because this whole narrative of, oh, people want to like claim out to Harry's name because he's so famous is such a, like, Harry will do anything. Like, Harry will claim any sort of a cop out that'll get him out of hot water. The whole I'm so famous, people are gonna want to glob onto me doesn't work for Melinda because she already hosted a Netflix show. Maybe it works for somebody like Xanthi, who we like don't know. Maybe it works for somebody who's a little bit lower level, but high corporations, can I say that? People in high brands and you know are reaching out to Melinda regardless of Harry or not. Also, who in the world, because she was saying she said that she wouldn't get her 15 minutes. Nobody wants 15 minutes. Nobody ever says, "Oh, let me get my 15 minutes." At least I don't think anybody's out here like, "Oh, I'm going to try to get my 15 minutes. I'm going to tell people that I kissed." What? That's such a villainous thing to say, and I just don't feel like that would come out Melinda's mouth. I don't even know her. She could have said that. But it seems like he's making this up just to avert the thing from him. Dom says, like, whenever they're getting away from this conversation because they don't want to feel the heat, whenever you ask whenever you ask a group of girls to stop talking, they just keep talking. It's like, yeah, because there's discussion. Tom just to me gives so much, like, I don't like him. He's annoying. He's boring. He's not exciting at all. He just is like sulky little emo boy in the corner. I don't know how he had landed a podcast. It's so weird. I tried to watch it. I couldn't get into it. In the beginning, I kind of liked Don. I was like, oh my god, an alt black man. I love that. But then now I'm like, no, you're just a sulky little boy who's annoying. So we have Tolu, Xanthi, and Chris talk. Chris is denying what Xanthi is saying, which is weird. We're just throwing out all these denials about what women are claiming to say. It's like, what's going on here? Like we're not just on a show where something's gonna come out in a little bit. I think all these guys are just denying to like buy time, and then the show's coming out, and it's like, oh shit, I forgot this lived here. Okay, so Micah is trying to. I feel like Micah's trying to make Kaz more of a worse guy than he is. Let's be real, because the way that Mike is describing Kaz and be like, he's a piece of shit. Like, it's like, is he though? Because he's chose you every time, and it's kind of shocking that he chose you because Holly's 10 times better than you are. Sorry. Micah just feels like she's trying to flip everything into, oh my god, he's just treating me so horribly. Like, maybe there's some uncomfortable moments that they're on, which is the show. It's a premise of the show. But he's chose you every time, and I feel like he's really trying for you. So maybe I should feel a little bit more bad for her, but I don't. Instinctually, I don't. Maybe I'm missing something, but I can't. Elise tells Justin she's matching with Brighton. That's disgusting. Justin, high temper, just kind of walks out and just doesn't really handle that maturely. I'm comfy. Micah matches with Izzy out of desperation. That's what it is. Chris and Tolu. Uncomfortable conversations because he, of course, lied. Basically, like, we watched what the heck happened. He said, I don't think what we had is like that strong of a connection, and I get that, but I feel like the way that he approached that conversation with Xanthi and Tolu was just kind of weird because it felt manipulative. But I do like that when he was crying, he did say, don't let me guilt trip you. Thank you. Thank you, because everyone else is weaponizing their tears. And as Harry is the poster boy for weaponizing your freaking tears. And the fact that he just said, I was like, don't let me guilt trip you into this. I'm just like crying. Thank you. Thank you. Oh my god. So, I'm uncomfortable with that brightness here. Basically, we're waiting on, is it an episode or two? Is it two more episodes? I think it's maybe two more episodes. Are we still gonna get a reunion? I feel like we didn't get a reunion for Perfect Match last time. And I need to see what everybody is up to. I need to see. Because I don't want to listen to their podcast appearances. Because quite frankly, I need them all to be in one area and to get the tea out there. So that's all I have. I'm sorry this was long, but it just had to be. Wherever you are, whoever you are, whatever you're doing, whatever time of day it is, I hope you have a great morning, afternoon, or night.